Run, river, run, run through the hills. Run, river, run to the sea. Run, river, run to your place beneath the sun. Run, river, run over me. Run through the land you run.
Welcome to be my guest today. We have from Grafton a sculptor and visual artist, and his name is Phil Marshall. Welcome, Phil.
Hi, nice to be here.
I'm Jan Lewis, your host, and I saw your sculptures. It was an article in one of the newspapers. He had quite some nice pictures.
Yeah, she did a good job of the
Which was
article.
it, in the Worcester or the Daily or the?
That was the Blackstone Valley
Express.
Express. Yeah, Yankee Express.
You have. He goes from all kinds of things from. You're going to see. How long have you been doing sculpting, Phil?
Predominantly since 2010.
What got you into it?
Well, I used to mostly paint and draw as a young man. Mm-hmm. And then I took a real job, and so I completely stopped, because to me art is something I have to do full time or not at all. It's not.
Right.
It's not really a hobby for me.
It's a real deal.
It's a real deal. So I stopped and earned money instead, which it's tough to do as an artist.
Oh yeah.
And I think it was 2010. I was able to stop working for somebody else, and I'd thought about sculpting at that point, but I really wanted to, as well as paint, of course.
Had you ever done sculpting before?
Not really.
No.
Not really. I signed up for a welding course at Asabat Tech, evening course.
We got to wear the.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I really struggled because of my eyesight. It's tough when you get older, and your vision isn't just quite right, and you get all focused up.
Yeah, when you're playing with fire with that type of thing, you want to make sure your eyes are working really good.
Right. So anyway, but it was a great thing to do.
Yeah.
And I thought I should reconnect with the art community somewhere in Worcester.
Yeah.
So I thought I'll take a course at the art museum.
Oh, what better place?
Right. So I thought, okay, and I went to the open house and looked around, and lots of painting courses and drawing courses, and I really didn't really want to take a painting course, because I knew how I wanted to paint, how I'd always painted. And there happened to be a contemporary sculpture course that was being run by a woman called Lynn Simmons, who is on the faculty now at Assumption. And that was it.
And that's it? You took the course. How long was it?
Just a semester, an afternoon course, typical sort of Worcester Art Museum.
Did you take to it like a duck to water? Or?
I suppose so.
Yeah. Well, obviously, for what do you see what he's... So you did since 2010, and then you were studying it 2010, or you became into it?
I came into it.
In 2010?
Yeah.
So we're talking 7 years.
Yep. Yeah.
And that's it. You left the job you were in. What were you doing before that, Phil?
Oh, this and that. A lot of it was international business. So I traveled a lot.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time in Southeast Asia, Middle East, and Japan, and as well as Europe, of course.
And you're British.
Right.
What part of England are you from?
Come from East Kent, which is the closest you can get to France. In fact, my parents lived for a while where you could actually see France.
Can you speak French?
Not very well.
See, I had to take... You had a choice back in school. You may have too. Either you're taking Spanish or you're going to take French. I thought, well, French seems a lot cooler. I'll take that. But the kids who took Spanish said, no. Spanish is easier. But by then, that's it. That's all right. My name was already on the tea towels. That was it. I had to do it. So anyway, now, Phil, he's going to show us some of his wonderful sculptures. You pick something, tell us how you're doing it, and just go for it.
Okay.
And Paul will zero in on it.
All right. Well, I mainly do outdoor sculpture, which of course is big stuff. So it's tough to bring it here.
Sure.
Obviously.
Yeah.
And most of it is out around the state right now. The summer is the time when there's all these public art shows everywhere.
Sure.
So I've got a bunch of stuff out. I've just brought a couple of pieces in that were in to the Boston Design Center. I brought those back Monday, I think.
Oh, I love the first thing
this one here is this one here.
Use your own in this ball.
So this is a piece of marble, and it's called Ever Vigilant, because and some people think it's a bear, some people think
I saw a wolf.
you said wolf, but I was thinking of dog when I did it. It's tough, of course, to carve in marble hair anyways, right? So it's pretty abstracted. And what I like, when dogs sleep, they always seem to be sleeping with one eye almost half open, and they always seem to be...
I see my cat do that.
Right?
Yeah, so a guinea pig.
Right, maybe she's looking for the dogs. And so that's why I call this ever vigilant.
Yeah, I love it. And how long did it take you to carve this?
2 or 3 weeks, I expect.
Weeks?
Yeah.
I would say, I thought months. Look at the nose on this fellow.
Yeah, so it's pretty roughly carved, except the nose, which people cannot help but touch, of course.
Yeah. Oh, I had to go and get it.
Right.
How did you smooth that out so beautifully? His nose.
Well, you start off with it's all done by hand. I never use machine tools if I'm doing something like this.
Yeah.
You finish off with different grades of paper. Between each, like sandpaper, really.
Yeah, sure.
And you take it down. I took this down to 2000 grit, if people know what that means, to get that sort of shine. And you can actually finish even with a piece of tissue, and it's something like marble.
Well, it adds so much to it because you've got two different textures here.
Right. Yeah, and just the only other piece is right inside his eye, this eye,
eyes,
which is just slightly open. The other one's closed over there.
He's got a name?
Nope.
Nope. All right, now this one next to it.
This one.
What is that? It's like, can you zero in on this place? It's like so smooth. And what kind? Is that slate?
That is slate, actually. Yes, it's a piece of an offcut of what would have been a kitchen countertop. That was what it was really destined for.
I can see. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's lovely, and it's lovely to work with. It has a fabulous feel to it, you know.
How did you smooth it that far, though? The slate I've seen is like those little welcome home signs you hang.
Yeah. There's different sorts of slate. Some much more flaky than others. I don't know where this comes from.
Yeah.
I smoothed there again. It was finished with papers, and this I did use a power tool to get these.
I don't know if you can see this. I mean, if you lift up that rock, it's all indented.
Do that. Maybe that.
So what do the rocks mean in it?
Well,
does that mean anything?
It's called resting places. These particular stones come from the beach in Dover Harbour.
Where's that? Dover.
In England.
Oh, in England. Okay.
And this piece I did for a show for the blind. If you go to an art gallery or a museum, of course, there's all these signs saying "Do not touch."
Yeah.
So
I'm going to be the first one to go.
Right. So it's tough for a blind person to ever go to an art show. So this was an art show. It was done in Plymouth, actually.
Yeah.
For specifically for the blind. So I did design this, make this specifically for that, to be felt. So this is really smooth, and these are smooth by the sea, of course.
So over in England, their rocks look like this. They're smooth. Not like ours are all jagged.
Depends where you go, of course. Yeah.
It looks like it almost looks like a dinosaur egg of some kind.
Yeah, it does.
Use your imagination.
Yeah, and it's got a little hole there. Who knows how that came about. But anyway, it's called...
I can see a lot of the people who are blind feeling and loving.
Yep.
There've been a lot of hands on this piece of art.
Right, and so I was just trying to get the contours and then have the contrast with the feeling of these too. And I was thinking, these come from the sea, and I called it resting places, as though they'd been here and worn their way into these indentations.
How long did it take you to do this with all the indentations?
A few days, I guess.
Days, days. Yeah. I would think it would have been months, a year.
Yeah. So that's it. So I was very pleased with.
Phil, do you have a studio at home?
I do. I have a studio for painting. Because when you're painting, you need to be dust-free, because some oil paint takes anything up to a couple of weeks to dry. So it has to be pretty dust-free. So I just paint in there. I don't do any of this sort of stuff.
This would make some dust, I would think.
Right, absolutely. So these sort of things I either do, and I got a very big basement, or I do a lot of stonework outside if I'm going to work with stone. If I do welding, I always do that outside.
We're talking with Phil Marshall, and he is a sculptor and a video artist. He's from Grafton. You're going to show us the tools that you use. This is very clever. You
okay.
brought
Well,
us-
this is when I was doing this, and I haven't done any stonework recently because I've been doing a lot in steel.
Yeah. Now, oh gosh, now he's doing
So, we don't have any of that here.
Yeah.
But
What's that little one you brought in? That little shiny creature?
well, let me show you these first.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
That caught my
so
eye. What
that's
is that?
that's the knocking machine. That's the mallet you use, and so this pretty much all of this was done with just this.
Just that was
Just
not with this, but just
No, just
like that.
just like that, and it's a lot easier than it looks.
What if you make a goof though, Phil? What then?
Well, you can usually
Kind of go around it.
go around it, or say move it back into the stone a bit more and that sort
Yeah.
of thing. Of course, if you've got an arm that falls off, you're in real trouble. But this, it's amazing. You're just going along the surface like that, and it comes off like dust, and it almost looks like smoke. It's just amazing.
Do you wear a mask, I hope? Bringing this stuff in?
Depends.
Yeah.
Depends.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's basically if you're
I love
using
this. It looks
big.
almost like a mallet.
It is a mallet. It
Yeah.
is a mallet. Yeah. If you're taking hefty pieces off, then you tend to use this sort of thing with teeth on it.
With the little toothy, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't use that very often. So I'd have used, almost all this was done with this one. And a lot of the fine work around there would have been done with
So
that.
what's the difference between this one and this one? It has more.
That's flat.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
yeah.
So to make the dog, you had to use the flat sculpture tool.
Right. You use that to take off big pieces when you start. That's sort of
Don't give these to the dentist. my toothies.
Anyway, so that's that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we practice on people's teeth. That's
Do you
that's the
really?
way-
Oh, well, they're not going to be mine.
That's
That's,
the way
for
you
sure. No.
That's where we're sculptors start.
I hope not.
Okay.
He's got some real good toys in here.
This,
Really
I'll
interesting.
show you this.
This is the one that caught my eye. What? Now
This is what we call a maquette.
a marquette.
Maquette.
How do you hold that up so that people? There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
And you can see this is
It looks
just
like a person.
yeah. Actually, it's I'll put him on there. This is the maquette for the piece that is now down at the Mount down in the Berkshires.
In the Berkshires?
Yeah, Edith Wharton's estate.
Mhm.
There's a big sculpture show there every year. So it's a great place. It's a great place to visit. Obviously, the Berkshires. And
What is that?
this is just very thin steel. Yeah, and it's
It's-
just glued together with hot glue. So
All
if
right. God, enough people
it
can.
would be great if it breaks while you're holding it. And we can,
No, it would be great.
But so
It almost looks like a Star Wars character.
right. Well, I tell you what happened.
But it's steel, lightweight steel.
yeah.
And was that hard to do?
No. This is the piece. I don't know whether that is reflecting or not. But
So you saw this already, the piece, or was this taking the picture of this?
no, this I made this.
So that's a
From
great,
that.
that's a great big one on display, right?
Yeah, that's about 9 feet tall. That's down at the Mount.
I can see why you didn't bring it in.
Right. It's down at the Mount right now.
Oh my God. What else do you need?
I was looking for my drawing. It doesn't matter. I was at figure drawing one night,
Mhm.
and there was a guy, a really lean rock climber guy, and it was a 3-hour pose. So the poses tend to be very simple, so that the model can hold it for 3 hours. They take breaks, but so
I
he
know
was-
I couldn't do that for 3 hours.
No,
Sit
me
still
neither.
for 3 hours?
Me
No.
neither. So he was just sat in this chair with one foot up, and I always do a quick charcoal first to get a sense
You do it, yeah.
of what they are before I get into a better drawing. So I'd done this quick drawing, and maybe you can see a picture of it later. And because you get charcoal all over your hands when you do that,
Sure.
so I went and washed my hands at the back of the studio, and I turned round and I just happened to look up and see him, and I've done some other work, simple work,
Mhm.
simple shapes
Sure.
of figures with
Yeah.
steel, and I just suddenly saw the way he sat there. It just looked like a piece of steel coming down here.
Hmm.
So
So
instead
he
of-
was your muse?
Right, I guess so. And so so instead of going back and drawing him for real, I drew this sketch of I thought that's a sculpture. So I did that, and that's the only time I've produced a sculpture from something I've looked at.
Yeah.
While I've been looking at it and basically designed it. I used to do everything from just what happens to be up here.
Were you like this as a kid, very artistic?
Yeah.
You
Yes.
were?
Yes.
So your parents knew that you were really that creative?
I guess, yeah, I
They
guess
must have
so.
known. What did you like to do as a kid? Did you like to do anything?
I did a lot of drawing, and of course at primary schools, we did working with clay and plasticine, and a lot
Clay
of
is great.
drawing, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
a lot of drawing and painting. So anyway, I did this because I wasn't sure whether the drawing, which I guess is one in here, I've got to, maybe you can bring one up later, but you might better see. See, that's
how you started
that's
the drawing.
the piece, and
I don't know how I could use it. This is how it started with the
so
drawing.
there's the drawing of the guy,
Yep.
which you may be able to see.
Mm-hmm.
And from that, I produced that. While I was there, I did the sculpture. And there's the finished product there, which is, as I say, 9 feet tall. So when I did that, I thought it looked really nice on a piece of paper. And you can't necessarily tell. I was a bit concerned it was going to be too narrow through the shoulders here. So that's why I produced this maquette, in this case, to see whether it would work.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, yeah, that looks like
And it did work?
And it works.
So what is that made out of? Heavier
This is made of steel, yeah. This
Heavier.
It's all 4-inch wide steel.
How did you bend it with the your?
Almost entirely by hand. It's pretty thin. I think it's 1/8 steel, most of it. Excuse me. With a machine, these really tight, curly pieces I did with a homemade bending machine, which is basically just a lever, so you can fold it.
So it's like a
around
lever that does it.
Yeah, yeah.
Where are some of your exhibits, Phil? So people could see these.
Well, right now they're out at the Mount, as I say. There's on the front lawn at Oxford Public Library.
Oh, I know that one very well. It's right on the front. Which one is on the Oxford Library?
The red figures, which
Okay.
I'd love to talk to you about,
Okay.
actually. There are 7 red figures, so there's that one. There's a similar one out at Art in the Orchard, which is in East Hampton, Park Hill Orchard, which is a great day out. There's a lot of sculptures there. I've got something in at Elm Park at the Park, Worcester.
You've got one at Elm Park.
Yes.
I see the craziest, greatest,
Right.
fun things out there.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're there.
Yeah, I got some eyeballs up in the tree.
The eyeballs in the trees?
Yes.
What were they made of?
They're just made of steel and insect mesh, actually.
Insect mesh?
Yeah.
Steel.
Steel and aluminum mesh. Yeah.
Aren't you also at Tower Hill?
No.
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 Somewhere else I read that you were.
Where else am
In
I?
Boston?
I just come out of Boston.
Okay,
I had
just
2
were out of-
pieces in
okay.
Boston.
Yeah.
Just Boston.
Phil, if somebody wants to reach you, maybe, how
Yep.
can they reach you to maybe do a sculpture for them? Or an exhibit?
The best thing is to get hold of me through my website,
Mhm.
which is www.philmarshallstudio.com, which I don't know if you can see that.
And how you will, so I'm trying to think how you do it. Can you travel to them, or do they come to you, to your studio, and see what you have to?
Usually people see stuff that's out somewhere.
Okay.
And most sculpture that I do, it's too big for most people. You know, people say, "Oh, that's cool," and then they find out how much it costs, because it's significant money, to time and materials to make these things. It's not the sort of thing that most people want in their backyard, either because it's just too big or it's too
But what if
expensive.
they say, I want this, let's say that you're 9 foot
Yep.
right there. They say, I would like to have that, can you do it at 5 feet? Can you special to order it?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You can.
Yeah, you can.
You go, because they could do that and have it so that it is in their backyard.
They could. They
Aha,
could.
see, or they could do something in their home, in the living room, they see something beautiful that you've done. If somebody, well, I love this, if they see this, you could make maybe a smaller version
I could, but that's the great thing of where I am in my life. This is pretty much a full-time job for
Yeah.
me, but I don't have to live off it. So I can really do what I want. I have done commission work in the past, and it's very gratifying that people want your stuff, but it's tough because, well, it's certainly in my case, I start thinking of the client rather than the art, and it becomes much more tedious and less fun, you know?
Do you find it hard not to get emotionally involved with the client with this type of thing?
It depends.
Yeah.
You know, it depends.
Especially if it's a gift that they want to give to somebody else.
Right, that makes it twice as difficult.
That makes it a lot. That's
Yeah.
It takes. I don't think we have ever had a sculptor in all my years in broadcasting on the program, and certainly nothing like this. This is so precise, and it's perfection, right?
It
Yeah.
takes a lot of. It does take a lot to get it just
Patience,
right.
a lot of patience.
Right.
And when you were in the business world, then you said, "Nope, I've had enough of corporate. I'm going into the arts."
Right.
You're happy you made that decision, right?
Yeah, I'm very fortunate that I could. I'm sure there's lots and lots of people that can't do that.
Well, the thing is, too, you can see these things. Lawyers have wonderful artwork, some of them in their lobbies. Other corporations, if you went into something like Genzyme or something like that,
Yep.
they also could probably like something like this, because it is so unique, and it's large, and it captures the visitor's attention.
Right. Yeah, I have a piece right now that's on a 12-month lease. It's just gone into the Hanover Insurance Company in Worcester.
I know that huge building on
That's
Lincoln
right.
Street.
Yes. So in the
Yeah.
employees' entrance, there are these.
Where is the employee center? I know the front end.
It's round the back somewhere.
The back?
It's a huge campus.
Well, why put your beautiful sculptures in the back? I would have it right
Well,
up.
that's where the people go in.
That's where they wanted it.
That's right.
I've often looked at that Hanover building and thought, I'd like to take Memorial and Hanneman campuses of UMass and merge them so that people aren't going those two. There's the university main campus. Let's make the other two to get, certainly Hanover's big enough. I had no idea till I looked around the side and saw that
Right.
thing is enormous.
It is.
How did they commission you? How did they find out?
That was through Art in the Park Worcester. I'm on the core committee of that, and so Art in the Park Worcester does promote and actively look for places for sculpture that are for people that have either just shown or wanted to show at Art in the Park.
Arts in the Park, isn't that the one that they do along a street, like Park Avenue? Or
It's right next to the street. That's Art in the Street,
All
which
right.
actually the street backs right onto Elm Park.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember that. I remember visiting. It is packed.
Yep.
All different kinds of artisans. Do you take part in it?
No, because
How could you lift everything from it would be there, and a table would go boom,
Right.
with all of it on it, right?
right.
What's your favorite part of doing sculpting, Phil?
It's thinking about it. I produce very few pieces, and it may take a few months before I do anything, and I'm in the middle of that right now.
Do you lose a lot of sleep at night thinking it?
I do. Yeah.
I think a lot
Yeah.
of us creative people are almost insomniacs. Because
Right,
we're thinking,
right.
creating, and then I
Right.
have to get up, I gotta write it down.
I'm lucky I don't have to do that because I have a very pictorial mind.
Right.
So everything I produce, other than this, really is based on mind-generated things.
Well, it's all very imaginative. I would say it's not abstract. What would you describe it as? Extremely imaginative. No doubt about that.
Whatever.
I would say fun. Fun.
It is fun.
It's
It
a
is
fun type of art. It's not boring and ho-hum.
Right.
This is really,
right,
this
right.
is a fun thing.
So that's the fun piece. Very often the actual making of something like the full version of this is really just work.
You don't have fun doing it?
I do,
Yeah.
I do, but particularly the bending, because I'm doing that with my body, and
Sure.
it's physical. And
Yeah.
this, I find working with something like this really good fun, because people talk about the stone. You have a conversation with the stone, and that's a very good way of describing it, because the stone, it's not it's not consistent all through. It's got weak points and hard points and crystals and less, and you have to work with it. And if
So what's your favorite thing to do of all your sculpting?
I think carving. I don't do very much of stone carving.
I think I had a feeling that this is something that you really
and I
enjoy.
haven't done it for a couple of years.
See, now I would probably go towards twisting around the metal, having fun with that and making creatures. You've seen stone creatures, rock art, where kids make the... I used to do that, and I sold some. They're fun. It's just fun stuff. And then you can shine them up and everything.
Right.
I must seem very amateur to you.
No,
doing
not
that
at all. No, not at all.
So, Phil, if somebody would like to see more or have an exhibit or order something from you, do you have, on your website, can people see different...
Yes, they can.
Okay, again, how do you get a hold of me?
That is philmarshallstudio.com. That's PhilMarshall studio studio.com.
Phil, when did you come to the U.S.?
1981.
Well, what'd you think? Well, what made you come here in the first place? What was the draw?
Money, I guess. That's not quite. That is not 100% true. It really is the land of opportunities. I mean, that's a real cheesy thing to say, but there's so much to do and here. I've been to a lot of places in the States. So before that, on business at different times.
Where did you land though? Settle down, Worcester? Grafton?
In Grafton. Well, we had an apartment in Westboro for a few months, and then we bought in Grafton. And
Westboro's nice. So is Grafton. There's some different. I've lived in Grafton.
Yeah, and it's much more like home. 'Cause we grew up in a very rural area, which is not particularly rural anymore because just like out here, it's getting more and more part of Boston.
Sure.
But this felt more like home than a lot of places we had to live in Britain to get the work we wanted to do.
Our neighbors across the street are British, and they have gardens. Gardens are big in Britain. Am I
right?
Okay. Tons of flowers in the garden stuff. We look basically naked compared to them. We don't have. They're perfectly done. Everything is absolutely beautiful. Bill, what would you suggest to somebody before we leave? But what would you suggest to people who want to get into sculpting? If they've taken a look at this and like, I want to do that. What do you suggest how they do this?
I would suggest if they've never done anything to try and take one of these courses at somewhere like Worcester Art Museum or something like that.
Do that,
just to get a sense of what's out there, because part of the thing is, especially sculpture, it's such a varied thing. I've worked with expanded polystyrene, insulating foam, great stuff, that stuff, for instance. I've sawn up cinder blocks. I've carved in stone. I've welded. It's such a wide thing that you can do, or carve in wood, or whatever, or just construct. You could be additive by building things together, or you can be subtractive where you're taking stuff away. It's such a wide field.
Are there groups that get together that you belong to?
There are. I'm part of the New England Sculpture Association.
New England Sculpture Association.
And I've been there's a group of 6 of us who've done work together, not all sculptors, over the years, and displayed at the Sprinkle Factory in Worcester.
The Sprinkle Factory, I've heard about that.
Right.
Phil, this is great. Now, I know that Phil brought a flash drive with him. So if everybody says, what's a flash drive? That'll show a little bit more of your art, of your sculpting, right? So you get an extra treat besides this interview. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you very much.
I'm glad
My pleasure.
we
Thank you
had
very much.
We'll see you next time. I'll be my guest.